penis. This is Andy Partridge of XTC.
And Colin Moulding of XTC.
Yes. You're listening to our hot-throbbing voices via those scintillating airwaves of 95.5 WBRU Providence.
Welcome to a very special WBRU interview with XTC. WBRU's own Alexa had the opportunity to talk with Andy Partridge and Colin Moulding last month, and for the next 30 minutes, we'll hear what they had to say. We'll hear them discuss the making of their new album, Oranges and Lemons, as well as listening to a few cuts from the album itself. They'll also talk about the making of Skylarking and about the future of their very special friends, the Dukes of Stratosphear. So sit back and listen up as we talk with XTC.
Well, here we are, and maybe we can get just a hello from each of you. And
Yes, grunt.
Hello.
Hello, world.
well, here we are talking with two of three of XTC.
Yes, 2/3, or slightly more than half, or two. Here they are, the 2/3.
And your other third is?
2/3.
He's at home in bed, I expect. What time is it? So, is he going to be in bed by now? No, he's probably thinking of turning his amplifier down a bit and going to bed now.
Okay. Well, it's been quite a while, I guess, since we had new music, since Skylarking. Did you spend most of that time working on the new Oranges and Lemons?
No, there was Sonic Sunspot. We helped our favourite group, the Dukes of Stratosphere, to finish
just
that off.
A little bit of help, right?
Just a little bit of help. We clubbed together for a plectrum for them.
We gave them their guitars back.
They were stood there empty-handed for the first week in the studio. Couldn't figure out they couldn't hear anything. Then after Sonic Sunspot, it was really time to put our real heads back on and be really us again. And so that was when this stuff that is now Oranges and Lemons started getting penned. I think that's the word professionals use, penned.
Wonderful album. Just spent some time listening to it earlier today.
Shit.
Gonna have to ask you about the cover now. Of course, lots of Beatles inspiration in XTC music in general. The cover is Yellow Submarine, a.k.a.
Well, it's
XTC.
just kind of bastard son of Heinz Edelman and Milton Glaser. The original inspiration came from a Milton Glaser poster for a radio station. Actually, I think it was a Boston station, I think, the original poster. And I always wanted to do a kind of pop art cover, like The Who's A Quick One, or Oldies but Mouldings. And so we kind of,
Cheers, man.
That's right, have this rusty shilling. So we thought that was it was a nice thing to do. I think we always wanted to do a cover like that. And I was initially rather worried that people were going to say, how dare you take this style of art and claim it to be your own for 5 minutes? But nobody has. Everyone has said, "Coo, how fresh!" And
So we got away with that one.
Lawsuits, right?
Few. Yeah, I think it's a rather fresh art style that hasn't been seen for 20-something years. So worth a spin.
Okay, well, why don't we take a listen to something off of the new album? Something I think our listeners are familiar with.
Don't play the rim.
No, Mayor of Simpleton. How about that one?
Oh, that'll do.
Okay.
Never been near a university.
Good tune there, and that's one of yours, right, Andy?
Yes, there they go, heading off into the sunset.
A story behind that, or?
This is a
Obviously
tricky
not
one.
about
Actually,
you.
this is a tricky one to talk about because it's the thing is, it's a very simple song. It doesn't say that you need. It means that you don't need vast wads of exam papers and stuff to say that you can feel. Everyone can feel, and I think that's a bit better than brain power usually.
Okay. Now, Todd Rundgren, I know, produced Skylarking, and you have a story behind someone who produced this album, right?
Emperor Toddulus
the first, the only 94-foot tall producer we've ever worked with.
Yes, it can be told now, listeners, that Andy Partridge did not get on with Todd Rundgren. It has to be said.
Oh.
But,
it's okay. Too much has been made of that, actually, so we should be nice to Todd today.
Todd likes to do things the Todd way, and
in Todd AO.
and and if you don't like it, then the sparks are going to fly, But
Yeah, suffice to say, when you work with Todd, you just have to leave your ego at home in the cupboard and come and be kind of fleshy recording fodder for his love.
Which is what you love to do, right? That's...
Oh, I just love to do that, yes. I mean, I've got a reasonable-sized ego, no bigger than no smaller than anyone else's. And Todd's rather got a monster, but he wouldn't show it to me. So we just didn't get on too much, but I think the LP's fine. When we initially finished it, I was a little kind of displeased with it, but I think that was more my... the fact that I thought that doing the whole LP was going to be like, summer holiday, summer camp or something. And not really summer camp, it was more like concentration camp. Yes, Camp Todd. Stalag Todd, as it was known, actually.
Todd's got this studio up near Bearsville in upstate New York. And when the bands record at his studio, you have to stop in the guest house for bands. And it's, you make pals with the mice that roam the corridors, and it's a pretty decrepit sort of place.
Which is amazing. The last band that were there had such a plague of mice that they tried to poison them and succeeded, and so there were lots of dead, rotting mice under the floorboards, stewing up the house lovely by the time
Always
we got
good
there.
for a bit of musical
Well, it's
inspiration.
great. You get in there and what's that smell? It's is that airline food? No,
one thing that did strike us was the fact that Todd's gear that he's got in the studio, it all seems to be very antiquated. It really is stuck in the early 70s. Technology-wise.
Stalin tone printed on a lot of it.
And even more surprising that he runs his 24-track tape recorder at 15 inches per second, which is unheard of these days.
All right,
it's usually 30 inches.
Before we get sued, maybe we should stop.
He just to round it all up, despite him being a total pain in the neck to work with, he is a good producer. He's a great producer, and
the album sounded wonderful.
A wonderful musician, and he did some very surprising but very good things with the music. It was his idea that we do the kind of John Barry existentialist spy theme backing to Man Who Sailed Around His Soul. I mean, the original demo was nothing like that. It sounded more like Leonard Cohen, the original demo.
But he's a rotten engineer.
He's a rotten engineer, yeah. It's give and take, It's a good producer.
On balance, it was a good experience, I think.
Okay, now...
I wish I hadn't crapped in his waste paper bin.
Dear God, hope you got the letter and...
Now, there's a different story behind Paul Fox, right? The man who produced this album.
Yes, Paul's been kicking around Los Angeles for about 10 years as a session keyboard player, and he did a single with Boy George called Living My Life, which he virtually took George's vocal and rewrote all the arrangement around his vocal. It had previously been recorded with another producer, and I don't think Virgin Records were too pleased with the result, so they got Paul in to rearrange the music. And he just rewrote the whole song around George's vocal, Mm-hmm. So we thought, that's very impressive. So we thought, maybe we should use this guy. So we got him down to Swindon and had a chat, and we seemed to talk the same language, and...
I'm pleased with the results.
He drunk more beer than what we could, so we were pretty pleased with that.
And keep it down.
Keep it down,
yeah. You drink more beer than us, and keep it down.
Well,
he was, just to finish off the foxy tale here, he was literally the only producer we saw. We were supposed to meet up with lots of others and kind of then put all their names in a great big hat and in an empty tape spool box and draw one out, And so the producer will be... 7 1/4. No, we didn't see any of the other producers. After this meeting with him, we thought, fine, we'll go with him. And I think it was just the right choice. Of course, it wasn't until about 3/4 of the way through that his wife let the cat out of the bag and said, Paul's very, very excited about the mixing that we're going to start in a day or so's time, this being his first album. And we thought, it's a bit like being told you're about to land at Heathrow Airport. Is there any pilots on board? Anyone fly one of these things? But he landed it brilliantly, and we're all cock-a-hoop with the results.
Okay, well, why don't we take a listen to something else from the new album?
Oh, pick one.
King for a Day?
Kink for a Day?
That one. King for a Day, right?
That's
King
ding-dong
for a
for
Day.
us. That's me, folks.
I guess a theme here sort of kind of being your own person. Dad just to follow other
Well,
people around, or?
it's about the English way of life now, really. It's there's a big thing in England about, being self-made men. and which is, in itself is okay, but it's just the way you get there, and it's a pretty ugly scene getting there in England at the moment, you know.
Been told that there was something that, I don't know, that you had a discussion about removing from the album or not.
There was on Skylarking. I mean, Dear God, actually. Dear God got removed.
Which
from
wasn't on, right?
Skylarking.
The
Yeah,
original.
at my instigation, it has to be told.
Truthfully.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd written the song kind of chewy enough, tough enough.
Well, Andy was faced with a dilemma that the record company and Andy himself wanted a track called Another Satellite on the record. So something had to come off, and Andy chose Dear God.
Well, that's personally Another Satellite is my favorite song, actually, off of that album. Wonderful
Well, I
song.
can't pick singles. You know, you're talking to the man that thought Since He's Working Overtime shouldn't have been a single, and had no idea that Mayor of Simpleton might be a single. You know, you're talking to a man with no single judgment whatsoever. So single dyslexic.
Well,
Yes, are you dyslexic? Write to me at 7 o'clock. Yep.
thought we might try listen to something a little stranger off of the album. My song called Poor Skeleton Steps Out.
Yes,
Which is,
Fair game.
I listened to and first thought it was funny and strange and kind of odd, and then sort of listened to it again, and all of a sudden in the middle it seems to be about sex discrimination and racism.
Well, it's all about liberating from all isms, you know, getting yourself liberated from racism, sexism, ism, jizzism. You know, let's get it. If you're gonna take it that far, let's get down to liberating the skeleton. He's the poor swine that has to hold up all these people. So it's the ultimate liberation song. It's you know, poor old skeleton. He has to wait until you've died before he can come out of the fleshy cupboard and party.
Okay, well, something a little different off of XTC's new album, Orange and Lemons. That one was called Poor Skeleton Steps Out here on BRU. Speaking of things a little strange, a little funny.
What did you look at me when you said that? The accusation in your eyes is horrendous.
What's the future of Dukes of Stratosphere?
They're packing it in.
They are packing it in,
yes,
they're
officially.
hanging up their guitars and joining XTC.
They died in a very strange cooking demonstration accident indeed,
Those are awful.
involving a lot of hot fat and lemon drops. But
Well,
they've had to stop. Yeah, how far can we take this thing? We've got some other projects up our sleeve, but I shouldn't really tell you about them in case they don't materialise. But
okay.
you'll know it's us when you can't decide who it is.
Right. Must be them. Thought we might throw in a Duke song, You're a Good Man, Albert Brown. Where does Kersey Red Barrel come from? The second name of the song.
Well, it's in England in the late 60s. A chain of companies called Watney's brought out a new beer entitled Red Barrel, which was absolutely disgusting, and they gutted all these pubs in England and made them they took these lovely, charming, oldie-worldy, wood-panelled, sawdusty pubs and kind of made them look all tiled and futuristic, like kind of men's lavatories, and had this Red Barrel stuff in there. That was all you could get. And the thing was the Red Revolution, you know, this disgusting beer, and it's a mixture. It's meant to be to tip your hat. It's kind of Snoopy and the Red Baron, and also this wretched beer in England from the late 60s, Red Barrel, which made you go to the lavatory pretty imminently. And so it tries to sort of get rid of a few influences all at the same time.
Well, you're a good man, Albert Brown.
So I gather since Skylarking came about, you've had yourself some children, correct? Two?
Yes, well, actually, I had one before Skylarking, and then, my goodness, I got home, and I had another one. It's something to do with the bedroom, but I can't work out what it is. I haven't got the connection yet. In any case, I'm not going near celery anymore. I have a little girl of 3.5 and a little boy of 1.5, so bookends.
Wonderful.
The set.
Okay, and
I don't have them with me now, so I'm afraid we can't phase
they're
the
home
use
holding
of
up
them
the
in.
books, right?
Yes, they're at home now, cleaning chimneys, and we have a huge treadmill in the front room which kind of runs the electricity generator in the house. They're going around on that right now.
Okay, wonderful. And the future, you're not touring, you don't tour, so...
You never would have guessed.
Make more children. I think that's
Staying home, getting drunk, and making children. That's kind of like, the ideal
it's
in
better
life,
than
really.
touring?
Well, I do like practicing at making children, yes.
Okay.
Whether I make them or not.
He's not very successful,
I
though.
have a little button by the bed I can summon if I need someone to come and make children for me. Yes, and make a child for me.
His wife keeps him for stud purposes.
On that note, well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
Andy and Colin speaking with two of the three members of XTC here on 95.5 WBRU.
Jerome.